Alan Silverman, thank you so much. I'm excited to have you on. Listen, you're extremely busy and super successful to conquer the number one real estate market in the world, Manhattan. Hats off to you.
Thank you.
I know real estate is tough in any market, any industry, and I mean you've done it in the best place in the world.
Yes, I mean, it is the best place in the world. And, people make it out to be so terrible and competitive and cutthroat and all these things. And you watch these shows on TV. But, honestly,
Mhm.
New York City is five boroughs. And I don't know how many neighborhoods that translates to, but hundreds of neighborhoods.
Mhm.
And not everything is Billionaires Row. And I think I say this because a lot of neighborhoods and a lot of diversity brings a lot of opportunity. So I think there's something for everybody in New York City in terms of real estate.
What do you think it takes to carve out your piece of the pie, so to speak, or your niche in that market?
Yeah, I would really focus on a few neighborhoods that you're interested in, or maybe a specific size apartment.
Mm.
Maybe specialize in studios on the Upper East Side, or condominium, two-bedroom condominiums on the Upper West Side, or whatever it is. But get to know um, a neighborhood really, really well, and understand the market comps, understand what the price points are, what the average prices are, price per square foot, um, what these apartments rent for. Just do your homework. And, I work for Compass and we have access to this data at our fingertips. So it's really not that difficult to sound smart about a neighborhood.
I like that. Leverage your resources and the technology.
Absolutely.
You're not new to real estate, so you've been through a lot of, ebbs and flows in different markets. What do you see our current state, especially with things that we're dealing with in terms of even the stock market, even though it's not directly related to real estate, I know it has a large impact.
Yeah, well, I think everybody's feeling poor with the stock market, volatility. But I think sellers, if they really want to sell, they really have to price accurately
Mm.
and realistically. Um, it is an excellent time to be a buyer. There's more negotiability now on the part of sellers and also new development. So I think it's actually a good time to buy. And I often believe in going against the grain. When everyone's feeling poor and nobody's buying, that's probably the time to buy.
Right. So how do you encourage somebody to get over that fear or that doubt? Because when there's uncertainty in the market, and like you said, everybody's feeling poor. As from an investor standpoint or from an opportunity, that should be the time to buy. But people have that fear that's standing in their way. How do you encourage them to get over that?
Yeah, well, I do think that this new economy will probably lead to lower interest rates, but we don't know that for sure yet.
Mhm.
Um, I often just talk about history, that I've been through a lot of market downturns, 9/11, the banking crisis, the pandemic. The pandemic, everybody fled New York City. And I was getting calls saying, I'm leaving, I'm never coming back. New York is dead. It's a mess. What are you doing there? Leave, run to Florida. Okay. And then
Yeah.
a year later, all those people came running back. So I've seen New York City rebound time and time again. And I know that it will rebound from this as well. So that's what I say to a lot of buyers. And I also just take them out and show them what is actually selling. What can you get for $1 million in this neighborhood? And I think once people see what's possible, they feel
Mhm.
better. And I also do the math. What's the mortgage? What's the monthly common charges? What are the real estate taxes? Um, Things like that.
Yeah, like you said, you've been in a lot of different downturns. The most recent few that you just named, like, 9/11 and even the pandemic. How do you stick with real estate? Is it just a passion? Because I know a lot of people that would go through those type of downturns and just run.
Yeah. Well, this is my second career. My first career was basically banking and finance, and I did that
Mhm.
for a really long time. So this is my second chapter. And, I'm in it for the long term. I feel that the more you do, the better you get, like anything, like going to the gym,
Yeah.
lifting a weight. You lift a 10-pound weight, you think you're going to die. And then before you know it, you're lifting 20 and 30-pound weights. So I think it's the same thing. You just have to learn by doing. You're going to make mistakes, but learn from your mistakes. And I think New York City, there's so much opportunity here. There's always a new development around the corner. Every time I think I've seen it all, there's something else. I've been doing this 9 years, and
Yeah.
there's new development happening all the time, and they just get better and better and better in what they offer. And neighborhoods change and gentrify. So I think in New York, what keeps me going is just the constant change, and it's very exciting. It never stays stuck.
Yeah, it sounds exciting. Speaking kind of that excitement in your transition, you were in banking, and I don't want to say it's a completely different world, but it's very corporate as opposed to the entrepreneurship that you're in now. And just what kind of led you to real estate as that second career?
Yeah, well, excuse me. I think I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I didn't have the guts to leave my job.
Mhm.
And you get used to the steady paycheck and all the benefits. But the last 10 years, I wasn't enjoying my work. After the banking crisis, the work got very arduous and boring, and uh, we were being overseen by regulators and auditors at our desks. We had to document every single thing we did. So in my last job, I was let go. The CEO came. I was at Credit Suisse. He came in. He got rid of 1 million people, and I was like, "Fine,
Ooh.
I'm done." And I had money in the bank to fall back on. I was lucky, but I
Mhm.
also entered this career later in life, so I had money in the bank to pay my bills because the first 6 months, even 12 months in real estate, you're not going to make a lot of money. So I had that, and I had the financial skills. I am a native New Yorker, so I really know the city.
Yeah.
And I also bought and sold my own apartment several times. So I kind of had an idea of the process from being on the other side of the equation.
Yeah, when you are making that transition, I think sometimes it's easy, like you said, you were in banking and you had a desire to maybe be in
Yeah.
entrepreneurship, but it's that fear, you get in that comfort zone, like receiving a paycheck or having the stability. And then it comes to a point, some people early in the career, some people later, but you realize this job is no more secure than maybe that entrepreneurship. You said
Yeah.
they let 1 million people go.
Well, not 1 million. I'm
Well,
exaggerating,
well,
but
okay,
a
well,
great, a great
I am
number,
too, but
a great number. And Credit
yeah,
Suisse
a
is no
large,
more. Credit
yeah.
Suisse is gone. So actually, probably was 1 million people, or 500,000 people. But yeah, I do think in this day and age, there's not a lot of security. I mean, look what's going on in the government now. All these
Mhm.
jobs are being eliminated, and that's the most stable job in the world is a government job.
Right.
So I think stability is something that our maybe my parents grew up with and instilled on me is to get that job security. But
Mhm.
there is no job security. The only security is yourself. And I think if you create something on your own, that's your security. No one can take that away from you. No one's going to fire me. The only ones that's going to fire me are my clients that are unhappy with the job I'm doing.
Yeah.
So, and actually, I have been fired from some clients, but you get new clients,
Mhm.
and I spend a lot of my time in lead generation. I'm always marketing myself. So I think that if you just keep doing what you're doing, you will build your own security.
What type of person or skill set do you feel suits you best and you had to develop to be able to be that type of person, to be an entrepreneur and sustain yourself?
Yeah. Well, I think I've always been an entrepreneur. I mean, I love making money. I've always
Mhm.
loved making money. I had summer jobs as a kid, and I watched my aunt invest in the stock market. So I think I've always sort of been around, like, working and making money and seeing it grow. And I always wanted that freedom, but I didn't have the guts to do it for a very long time. So I think I'm an only kid,
Mhm.
and I just like doing things my way and on my own and in my own time, my own energy, my own rhythm. And I don't like reporting to other people. So, I mean, I don't want to sound like I don't like people or respect people or authority, but I've always just really valued my freedom.
Yeah, definitely. It is a lot of freedom, but it takes so much discipline, and some people don't really know how to structure and motivate themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Well, the thing to do is to treat this like a job. I wake up early like I did for my job. I mean, not crazy early, but 7, 7:30, and I get my coffee and then I get to my computer and I work, you know, 8 to 6 or 9 to 5 or sometimes a little bit later, sometimes a little earlier, if it's very busy, but I treat my business like a regular job. I know what I have to do. I
mm.
don't always get everything done, but it gets done eventually. I have processes in place and I just try to do them as best as I can. So that's
Yeah,
what keeps me going.
you said a big part of your business is lead generation. I know, a little enough about real estate to know that you have to continue to fill that pipeline, and build that up. So how do you structure that and go about continuing to do that? Because that's the part of the business that a lot of people don't see, right? You talk about these TV shows
Yeah.
and selling $1 million houses and the glamorous stuff.
Yeah. You don't see Ryan Serhant at home at 1 o'clock in the morning doing his emails and yelling at people.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
Ryan might
You don't
have
see
somebody
that on
doing it now.
TV. Um, okay. Well, there are a lot of tools Compass gives me
Uh-huh.
that help me with lead generation. I also have a Google business page that I update every week. I have a website. I have social media that I try to create videos and stories and reels every week. I also buy leads on StreetEasy. Compass isn't a great fan of that. However, buying zip codes on StreetEasy, I get real buyers and I get serious people, and I've
Yeah,
gotten a lot of clients from StreetEasy. And then I invest in marketing, um, in some PR, in podcasting, like being a guest on your podcast. That was managed by an agency that I pay to help me
yeah,
get on podcasts. So those are all the things I use for lead generation.
yeah. I think that's the like you said, the important part of the business and to keep it going. And a lot of times people get lost in a lot of those tasks. So it sounds like you have a really good balance between the work and structuring it, but also the business or income, generating activity because people sometimes get lost in the day-to-day things that aren't really generating them revenue.
Yeah, well, that's very easy to do, and I myself get caught up in administrative stuff and operational stuff and financial stuff, and you're not
Mhm.
doing any phone calls, you're not showing apartments. That happens all the time. Um, I try to keep a balance. I have my calendar in my Android, and so I know certain hours of the day this is what I have to do. It doesn't always work out that way. There's always emergencies, there's always
Yeah,
questions, there's always, oh my God, can you show an apartment at 3 o'clock? And I have to drop everything that I'm doing and show an apartment. And there's travel time and there's travel back to the office or home. So it's a constant reshuffling. It's never going to be perfect, but you try to do the best you can.
yeah, and I guess it's important to not be so hard on yourself because, like you said, there's some days when you just can't get it all done, and you can get stuck in that place, right?
Yeah, or, hire an assistant or work with your team and delegate.
Mm.
But assistants cost money. I get that. A lot of people don't want to spend money on an assistant, but that's probably the next step for me because I am getting too busy and I need to invest in an assistant. But yeah, I mean, building a team and delegating is really the way to build. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
When you're building out your team, how do you decide the right pieces of your business to let go? Because I know a lot of people have a hard time letting go of certain aspects. You don't feel like anybody can necessarily do it as well as you.
Yeah. Well, you have to train them and you have to give people chances. And I tend to write out the process in a document that they can follow if they get lost. Um, you just have to take chances with people. Hopefully, you have a good working relationship, you have good communication skills, you can, people, they can feel free to ask questions. So, and, you give someone a deadline. I want this finished by this day at this time, you know, like a job.
Yeah, it's but it can also become another job for you because now you have to mentor, train, and develop somebody.
I know, I know, I know.
But it's
Um,
necessary, right?
it, yeah, we'll see. I mean, I'll see how much I can do on my own. I mean, that's the test this year. How much can I really do on my own? Because it's been a little much lately, and I do need help.
Yeah.
So, we'll see.
How do you feel about showing agents? Or is that a part of your business that you need to be the face of?
No, showing agents don't have to have licenses.
Mhm.
No, it's a great idea. It really saves a lot of time, but you still have to pay them and you train
Right.
them. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if that would be a part of some people's business they would want to let go because that's the actual, face-to-face tangible, piece with the client, right?
Yeah.
So you got to really have somebody trained up, to fill that spot for you. They are an extension of you.
They are an extension. Yes, yes, and yes, and they have to have the right personality. And again, it's training and follow up, and yeah, it's challenging. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about New York's market because it is, like you said, glamorized, but is very different. And one thing I, kind of want to touch on is we, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but finding your niche, you know, in those five, boroughs. And you talk about things like travel time, and of course, everybody knows New York's traffic. So I'm in Richmond, Virginia, totally different market, right? You can drive anywhere here and get there relatively easy. So you may not have to niche down quite as much in a market like this. So how do you go about doing that?
Well, I would start with the neighborhood you live in. Why not?
Hmm.
It's easy to get to because you're right there, and it's easy to learn the market because you're right there. Um, if that's of interest to you. Um, New York City, we have the best public transit system in the world. There's subways that you could get to, and hop on a train and get downtown in 20 minutes from the Upper West Side. Um, so I would pick a neighborhood that interests you and look at, there's co-ops, there's condos, there's townhouses. Maybe pick one of those. And within that sector, look at different sized apartments, look at what they're selling for, look at what's in contract and what's sold in the last uh, 3 to 6 months, and just get really um, familiar with a certain market.
Yeah, it's going to take you a lot of time to, like you said, study and really learn that market. People, I think, sometimes don't take that piece of it as seriously. They just want to jump right in and almost be an overnight success, but there's a lot of background legwork and studying that goes into it.
Oh, sure. I mean, when you're negotiating price, you always have to show the market comps to the buyer or to the seller and to
Mhm.
give them the most updated information. This changes week by week. So, you definitely have to do your homework. You can't just sell an apartment blindly. You have to know what is the price relative to what everything else is going on in the market.
Yeah. What would somebody need to do to stay current? Is it always just going to come from the broker, the brokerage rather, or is that something that they need to do individually on their own to get that education?
Yeah, well, every brokerage firm does supply data, but you can
Mhm.
also go on StreetEasy or Zillow or Property Shark or Urban Digs. Any of those databases have really good data on the New York City market, and you have to subscribe to these services, but you'll be able to get it. It's not that
Okay.
expensive.
Yeah. So it's worth it to have that investment for your business.
Definitely.
Yeah. So outside of learning the market, are you looking to the next maybe 3 to 5 years? Where do you see yourself? Are you a person who's growing a huge team? Do you feel it's better to be a solo individual broker?
Yeah, great question. I think I don't know. I'll see. I mean, if I can do it myself, I'd rather do it myself, but
Mm.
I may not be able to. So I definitely would like to grow my team. I definitely would like to get into a rhythm of having steady leads and steady cash flow every month. So I don't have to worry. I don't have to chase as much.
Yeah. I think when you get to a part of having that much of a book of business, this is just in my head. I don't know anything really about running a real estate business. But once you get that hard part of providing leads and a backlog of business, it may be easier to grow a team because now you can provide people, what they need most, and that's revenue and a lead source.
Right, right. And you don't have to be chasing and worrying about the leads, and you have more freedom to train other people. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not there yet, but hopefully, yes.
Yeah. Not hopefully. Absolutely. I know it's coming. You're doing the work. You not only are a broker, but had the opportunity to be on a TV show as well.
Yeah, everyone's always asking me that. I I think it was last year. Last year I was having, the real estate market wasn't too great in 2023 and 2024. So just
Yeah.
for fun, I was just doing other kinds of work, and I just thought, it must be might be fun to be a background actor.
Uh-huh.
So I saw this ad in on Instagram actually, and Sex in the City, well, the and Just Like That, which is the show following Sex in the City,
Yeah.
and Just Like That was looking for background actors. So I applied and I got in, and I was a background actor for 2 days, and I was on the Upper East Side one day, and
Mm.
I was on downtown another day, and I saw all the actors. Sarah Jessica and Charlotte
Wow.
and Miranda, and wearing fantastic clothes and sounding like their characters on the show. And it was fun. And I met other background actors, and it turns out a lot of them were also in real estate. So it wasn't just me thinking about other fun ways of earning a living.
Man, that's amazing. It's like I'm thinking back to your banking days, and I don't know that you ever would have sought that opportunity and pursued it had you not been on this side of it, right? In real estate and
Yeah.
entrepreneurship.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're working at a 9 to 5 job, you don't have time to apply
Mhm.
for other kinds of freelance jobs. So you have to have a very fluid schedule. Yes. And at
Yeah,
the
those
time I did. So yeah.
those type of opportunities, are opened up to you, and you get to experience something in life that is really to you. It may seem like, oh, I was just a background actor, but honestly, that's phenomenal. I believe it or not, you may not be. I love Sex and the City and the movies. So
Oh, you
yeah,
do? Okay. Because a lot
yeah,
of men, it's usually the men are not
yeah.
quite
That's why I
into
said you
it.
might not believe. Yeah,
Yeah,
I've
usually
seen.
it's for women, but I'm glad
Yeah,
that men are watching.
yeah. So
It
that's
must be a great education.
yeah. Well, it's usually with my wife. It's not like I'm sitting there watching it, by myself. But I do, I get hooked in, and I like it.
Yeah, no, it was a great show, and it really epitomized New York City. Absolutely. Yeah, and relationships and crazy relationships. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it something you think you'd try again, or looking for other opportunities?
Yeah, absolutely. If it's fun and I, can sort of relate to the show,
Hmm.
yeah, why not? Absolutely. I mean, being a background actor also is not as glamorous as it looks. It is hard freaking work. We,
Really?
oh my God. You see, just like real estate, you don't see what goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
When you're a background actor, you're getting up at 4 in the morning, you're reporting to some location at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Hmm.
It's pitch dark. You are in a room with thousands of other background actors. You're getting makeup and hair and wardrobe. You're waiting around a lot. And then when you do get on a scene, you have to do that scene maybe 20 times over.
Mm.
I did the scene walking down a street opposite Sarah Jessica and Charlotte. I think I did that scene about 20 times. We had to do it
Wow.
over and over and over. And it's hard
Yeah.
doing it, over and over. And by the 15th take, you're just exhausted. But you have to maintain, energy
That
and the
same
smile and
energy,
the
enthusiasm. Yeah.
enthusiasm, and it's hard. And then you go back, and they do feed you, they give you lunch, and then you wait for your next scene.
Hmm.
And it's the same thing, doing that scene over and over and over again. So you could be working from 4 a.m. till 10 o'clock at night. it's
Wow.
it's
Yeah.
hard. Yeah.
Yeah. I really, I didn't know so much, went into it, I
Yeah.
know acting's not
Yeah.
easy. I mean, clearly, which is, why they're paid so much.
Yeah,
Uh,
and then your makeup, even as an extra, you have your makeup and your hair, and that
mhm.
constantly has to be redone, with lights and the sun and the wind and whatever else is going on outside. So you're constantly, fixed, and the buttons and the tie, whatever you're wearing, it has to be perfect. So no, you can't slouch.
Yeah. What do you think, that acting experience, did to you as an entrepreneur and for your real estate business?
Oh gosh, I don't know if it I don't know if it did anything for my real estate business, but I mean, I had a lot of fun. I met a lot of people.
Mhm.
I'm always asked on these podcasts about my extra work. So if it gives me an extra advantage, people know me as the real estate agent who was a movie extra on Sex and the City, so be it, Maybe it gives me more publicity, and
Yeah.
that's always a good thing.
If nothing else is good for a brand, yeah, that's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was, listening to you, and I could see, some similarities, right, in the industries, and you're talking about like how you have to maintain that excitement and that enthusiasm, and I'm just picturing like you showing, condos or a house, and it's like, look, I've been to house after house, but I have to be excited for this client as I was for the last one, and I've had a rough day.
Yeah. I've definitely had that experience. Well, I guess it is sort of like being an actor. You know, for the next 30 minutes, you're putting on a show.
Hmm.
So you just have to suck it up and do it. And then you can go home and crash or whatever you have to do, you know.
Yeah,
But I think, yeah, it is sort of like being an actor and doing something over and over again. You're right. And I think also the energy of other people gets me gets my enthusiasm back.
yeah,
And you kind of feed off other people's energy, so that helps. And there's always something new to learn about a client, so that helps. And you know but there are days where it's hard. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. And yeah, you just gotta have that grit and push through. And
Yeah.
just remember also, I mean, what are you here for? You're here to get a check, or you're here to serve people.
Yeah.
And really, at the end of the day, you want to make somebody else's dream come true. They're looking
Yeah.
for their first home a lot of times, and it's very important for them.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you never know what's going to happen from a buyer that you meet, or a seller that you meet, or a client. And you just never know. In New York City, people are very under the radar. There are
Yeah.
lots of billionaires walking around, and they're wearing ripped jeans and ripped t-shirts and baseball caps just like yours. and they're riding the subway and they could be multimillionaires. You just don't know. So you really have to treat everyone the same and be respectful.
Yeah, I think that's a huge point. And just come from the right place in your heart, and you're not going to have a single problem being successful.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited for everything you have going, Ellen, and where you're headed in the next few months to couple years.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been great. And hopefully we'll do it again sometime.
Okay. All
All
right.
right. All right. Until next time.
Okay. Okay. Take care. Bye.
All right.